My name's Adonna Michelle Turner. I'm a dedicated mom of three. I've worked in the municipal court system for about 6 years, and before that, I worked as a detention deputy for about 8 years. I took a 20-year break away from school, and I'm looking forward to learning and growing with this new adventure called college. I chose to dedicate this video to Brazil's indigenous community, the Terra Indigena Aruwuwu, in the state of Rondônia in Brazil's southern Amazon. I wanted to raise the awareness of the deforestation and the exploitation of the ancestral land that's been taken right beneath their feet. So the indigenous people have lived in Brazil for about 12,000 years to about 15,000 years before the European settlers. Brazil housed thousands of indigenous groups. The complex groups had various languages and spiritual beliefs, and they were the keepers of the forest, growing crops, hunting, fishing, and making little impact on the environment to help sustain it. In the 1970s, there had been a series of issues that began to arise. Land grabbers and loggers, gold miners and fishers, they all began to invade the indigenous territory. And the non-Indians brought in many problems, such as disease and violence. These intruders were coming into the indigenous territories and senselessly killing those that they had encountered. The Brazilian dictatorship during that time began redistributing the land of the indigenous people to non-indigenous people, into farmers, under the INCRA, the National Institute for Colonization and Agrarian Reform. At that time, about 235 land titles were granted to farmers and rural workers, and that pushed out the indigenous communities that were already on the land and that they had been for centuries. I mean, these people have been there way before time began. It seems like up until they started being pushed out from these land grabbers. Today, there's about 619 declared property listings, and already about 388 of them have been deforested, meaning that the trees are being cut down. Politicians have encouraged these invaders to take over the land and to create the agricultural frontier. And invaders who came into the community were showing these indigenous people the papers showing that, hey, I have this paper, this is my land, but all these claims that they were doing were false. The community were attempting to protect their land, and in some cases had been killed or hurt in order to stop these intruders. Today, the public authorities are standing by the injustice that the Arawuwu community and other surrounding indigenous communities had to face with these invasions, and they're standing up for the rights of these communities. And the loggers and miners are being expelled and arrested, and their equipment's either seized or destroyed. And as of 2016, the Arawuwu community continues to be under attack. Its invaders keep progressing into their territory, and the land thieves and loggers, miners, they keep persisting to occupy this indigenous territory. The indigenous leaders have begun patrolling their own land in order to stop these invasions. The leaders are documenting these invasions with cameras and cell phones in order to assist with their investigations to advocate for their own rights. The threat of deforestation goes far beyond just intruding the territory. It leads to the displacement of animals and people. It disrupts the natural habitats and causes food scarcity for animals and people of all sorts. The ecological balance of the territories that are being impacted, it's destructing the habitats for the indigenous communities. The soil degradation from the deforestation are causing alarming issues. Once the forest is cleared and the land becomes prone to this, the land then becomes prone to soil erosion, making it less fertile and unable to sustain life, meaning there's no regrowth once they've deforested these locations. Um, the soil erosion makes it difficult for both the land and the indigenous people to continue with their agricultural practices. And in this not being able to grow their food, it becomes to where they are have food insecurities, and in some circumstances they could um, not survive that. This is definitely something that we need to address more so than has already been addressed. I know that it has been in some instances, but these indigenous communities have been the pillar of these locations for centuries, and the deforestation is causing so many issues in between, not just for the indigenous people, but for the animals and the land in itself. These are things that we definitely need to address more strongly for these locations. That's what I got. Thank you.